Welcome to the March 19th meeting of the Hadley Housing and Economic Development Committee. With me this evening for committee members, we have Bill Dwyer, myself, Molly Keegan, Sean Berry, Crystal Jackson, E. Dragon, and Tony Maroulis. So tonight we actually have an appointment right at 6 o'clock. So I would like to welcome this evening Henry Walker. Henry is from a consulting firm called Urban 3. We had spoken about this at our last meeting in January, and unfortunately we weren't able to meet in February. So Henry has graciously volunteered to present to our group and educate us a little bit about the type of consulting work that they do for communities such as ours, and communities that are significantly larger relative to providing data points and assistance in thinking through zoning changes and future development. So Henry, thank you. Thank you for taking the time tonight. And anything that you'd like to say to kick off? And I know that you have a presentation for us as well.
Sure. So is it okay for me to leap into the presentation or should I? Okay, great. Well, just quickly, I'm Henry Walker. I'm the Business Development Administrator here at Urban 3. Urban 3, we call ourselves a geo-accounting firm. We map cities and counties' financial data to their land use so they can make better land use decisions and see the cost of growth and look for different ways to maintain things like fiscal sustainability, but also build things like housing, affordable housing, et cetera, and what is the highest and best use for a community from a fiscal standpoint. So I'll go ahead and start to share my screen. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen for just a few minutes, and then I'll have some time for questions. So I'm going to, can everybody see a slide that says land production?
Mm-hmm.
Great. So we think about help cities think about their land use. Oh, goodness. Continue to share. Yes, continue to share, please. Sorry. We helping cities think about their land use like they are crops on a farm. You have to make sure that the produce you're growing literally is going to cover the cost of labor and equipment to maintain that. Similar to a city, you want to make sure that what you were planting on the ground with buildings is going to cover the revenues you're going to generate from the taxes, sales taxes, property taxes, charges for services, et cetera, will cover the costs of the roads and pipes and infrastructure to maintain that site. So Urban 3 started officially in 2011. But in 1991, our founder and CEO, Joe Minicozzi, he was working for a group called Public Interest Projects. And we are based out of Asheville, North Carolina. So downtown Asheville, North Carolina was kind of a ghost town for a long time. There's lots of vacant property. Public Interest Projects bought this building in downtown Asheville for $300,000 in 1991, and now it's valued at over $11 million in taxable value for the city of Asheville and for the county of Buncombe. That's an increase in 35,000% in 15 years, but one key element here is that it takes up less than a 15th of an acre, or less than a fifth of an acre. So when we present this work in Asheville, some folks say, well, our Asheville Walmart has $20 million of taxable value. And we'll say, great. Well, let's do a little bit more math on that. So the Asheville Walmart takes up 34 acres versus 0.2 acres for this downtown building. So when we think about that on a per acre perspective, the Asheville Walmart makes $6.5 thousand per acre of county property taxes, and the downtown building would make $634,000 per acre. We
Henry,
take a look at,
just
sorry.
stop for a quick second.
Oh, sure.
We're still just looking at the land production page with I didn't know if you had been changing.
I sure have gone forward. So I'm going to just stop sharing my screen. Not
Yeah,
sure what's going on.
That is the story of my life with presentations, right? Like being like, I am just chugging along, things are going, and then, oh goodness. So thank you for speaking up, Molly.
Yeah, thank you. That would be very awkward if I just kept presenting and no one said anything for the next 20 minutes. So I think now, nope, my computer is still not recognizing my second screen. So okay. All right, I'm gonna hit play. Is this working? Is this coming through?
It is.
I'm on hold on. Is it still coming through?
Yes.
34 acres versus 0.2 acres. Are things changing on your screen?
No.
No.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll just do it this way. So,
Yeah. We'll go old school. We're gonna
we'll
go
go old
like
school.
early.
I
We got
guess
this.
I just transitioned to a different place with a different second monitor, and it's not working for me right now. So I'll go through. Can people see the slides changing here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's really
Now,
not working. Sorry, one second.
oh goodness,
Boy, howdy.
I'm telling you, just the story of we're all learning together in this technology stuff. It's
I'm just
once we
gonna
think
not
we've
use
got
that
it.
screen. All right, third time's a charm, y'all. Why are you
Also,
doing it
more than
this
welcome to
way?
send it to me if it doesn't work, and I could be I can do the slideshow.
This is so strange. It's literally never done this before. Um, Screens. Literally the screen. Why wouldn't you just show the whole screen? Has this changed? I have never encountered this before, and I do this 5 times a day. So this is so strange. Okay, we're gonna try this. I'm gonna hit play on my keynote, but I think it's still gonna do the same thing. Are you all still stop sharing keynote? Can you see my screen?
Yep. Now it's
You,
changing.
now you see this changing.
Yep.
Yes.
So now
Okay.
it's doing the progressive
All
slide of the
right.
6.5 and
Great.
then the other
Let's
one.
try this again. Okay.
Let's do it.
This Asheville Walmart, it makes $20 million of taxable value versus this downtown building, which makes $11 million of taxable value. The key piece here is that the Asheville Walmart takes up 34 acres. That's a lot of acres versus this 0.2 acre building. So when you do the math on how many property taxes per acre, that's 6.5 thousand property taxes per acre versus 634,000. When we look at sales taxes per acre, 48,000 versus 84,000. When we look at residents per acre, that's 0 to 90. When we look at jobs per acre, that's 6 to 74 per acre. So this is the scary math we do at Urban 3. It's kind of like comparing cars. If we compared cars miles per tank, we should all be driving Ford F-150 Lariats because they clearly will get us to go a lot further. But we do think about fuel efficiency. So we care about miles per gallon. So why don't we all start driving 1955 BMW Isettas? So we do this with land use. We're doing this all over the country. We take city and county property taxes, we put it on a map, and this is a very rudimentary slide. And I'll show you some fancier slides in a moment, but this is the county property taxes per acre by certain land use types. And then here is the Buncombe County model. We are based out of Asheville, North Carolina. Buncombe County is our county seat. Or we are the county seat of Buncombe. So you all might have heard of the Biltmore Estate. The Biltmore Estate is the largest privately owned property in the United States. It takes up a heck of a lot of land. Here it is in this taxable value map for Buncombe County. When we turn the map into a value per acre model, the Biltmore Estate turns green, and then there's some very tiny spots of color in the downtown Asheville area and downtown Black Mountain. And we're wondering, well, I can't really see this on a map, so let's look at it in 3 dimensions. So here's a 3-dimensional model for the value per acre model for Buncombe County. You can clearly see where downtown Asheville is. You can see the town of Black Mountain, and here is the Biltmore Estate. This is pretty common across all of the projects we've done across the country. We're just looking at the revenues per acre, but this model helps us show the value of any kind of downtown or business district or pretty strong walkable, bikeable neighborhoods, and it's really helpful for us to be able to see that on a model. So I'm going to go ahead and fly to a different part of the country. Actually going to go to Annapolis, Maryland. All right, I'm clicking play again. Share slideshow. Can you still see this slideshow? Okay. Are things changing on my screen?
Yep.
Great, fabulous. So we did a project in Anne Arundel County and did a focus on Annapolis, Maryland. But here's the city of Annapolis versus Anne Arundel County, Maryland. Annapolis takes up 2% of the area in Anne Arundel County, but it makes up 8% of the taxable value for the whole county, which means that's a ratio of 1 to 4.5. We've done this analysis all over the country. We like to see a 1 to 6 or greater for either a downtown to a city or a city to a greater county. But this is just really helpful for cities and counties to think about their relationship to the city. So in this Annapolis project, we looked at a couple of things. We looked at the average square foot of road, parking, and building per person. There's 476 square feet of road, 456 square feet of parking, and 649 square feet of building to person. And then here is the value that folks get from that. Road, this says 40. The parking is 15, and then building 159. But roads are actually listed on financial budgets for cities and counties as an asset. But a road you have to maintain over time. And I can't sell the road outside my house to the next town over. It's there forever. So they're really more like they should be treated more like liabilities. So there actually is a negative $40 per square foot for each citizen in Annapolis. In this project, we also looked at in the annexation history and the population history. And I'm going to we're talking about the revenues and the costs of per acre, which is what I'm going to get to later in this presentation. But this is just an interesting tidbit because we had the data from 1820. So the population of Annapolis has followed its growth pattern. So from 17 to 1800, this is the city of Annapolis, Maryland. And then from 1800 to 1920, they grew here, and then their population increased. But then they annexed here from 1920 to 1950. This is the war era, so they took a little dip in their population, and then they annexed all of this in 1951. And this is what happened to their population. Their population plummeted down, and then they've annexed a little bit since the 1950s. But then by the time they've gotten to when we did this project, they've achieved 1855 status. So this is just one key element of looking at annexation, looking at population. But what also comes with all of that population growth is also the cost of the infrastructure. So I'm going to click through a couple of these slides just to get myself ahead of myself. But so here's the city of growth. Here's just some map of some of the roads in Annapolis. But then this is the people per square mile, excuse me. But then here's a road maintenance load and rebuild schedule for Annapolis, Maryland. So these are the roads they built in 1890, 1910, 1930. And a road you pretty much have to rebuild every 50 years, as well as pay for its maintenance costs. So the roads that they built in 1910, they rebuilt in 1970. And that's true for the roads they built in 1890 to 1950. So then in 2030, they're going to have to rebuild those roads again. And then this is what's happening for a city and cities all across the country is that they need to be thinking about how they're going to have to pay for these road maintenance and rebuilds over time. So what we do at Urban 3, not only do we map the revenues in those value per acre models, but we also map the cost of roads and pipes. So here is the revenue and cost per acre for Annapolis, Maryland. This is as if the city's floating in a lake. You can see the revenues coming out of the ground and the costs going into the ground. And then we can look at the net. This is pulled into a per acre or a per parcel model. So we're going to take a look at that model in 3 dimensions. They have a negative $20 million deficit right now because they're not thinking about the maintenance of their roads and pipes over time. But here's another interesting element is that here is the pre-1951 city before that 1951 sprawl. They are net positive 1.4 million. They're actually able to cover their cost of infrastructure with their revenues. And then the post-1951 is actually negative $20.8 million. So that's an annual deficit that the city is facing with their land use. I'm going to go ahead and I think I'm actually just going to stop there for now. I can show lots of things. I can do death by PowerPoint, but this is what we do at Urban 3 is we take a look at your city's or your county's budget. We take a look at your revenues. We look at your costs of infrastructure, roads, pipes, stormwater, police and fire, if you wanted to get into it. Take that, do some analysis as well as model it and show you at the end of all that, what developments you might want to explore that could be generating a net positive result for the city or the county's finances. We've actually developed a tool called the Municipal Pro Forma tool that cities are beta testing right now that they can actually use as an interactive tool in their GIS software to then see if we built this, would it be net positive or net negative? So I'm going to pause there because I know we had limited time and spent some time futzing with technology. But are there any kind of questions that are coming up and any challenges that you're facing that resonate from what I just showed?
Henry, may I ask a question? Do you do
Yeah.
most of this modeling based upon, I mean, I know you do it on counties, but do you do it mostly on cities within those counties? And the reason why I ask is because I think a couple examples that you showed us with Annapolis and Asheville are very different than the rural character of Hadley. So just
Sure.
wanted to kind of get a sense of, have you had experience out of that when you do your analysis?
Yes. The answer is yes. We do this. So the reason why we started the countywide model is that's where property tax 99 times out of 100 is collected. We use property tax to start because that's at the parcel level. So we can model that, we can map that. And then if depending on the client is the city or the county or the cities within the county or small towns within the county, we can look at the individual municipality's budget and look at the revenues and the costs there, and then talk to each one of those infrastructure departments and then model them accordingly.
Yeah, I think what Tony was getting at is in Massachusetts, we functionally have no county structure. They're administrative districts only
Sure.
with no taxing authority.
Right.
So
300
everything is done on a local basis.
351 to be exact.
Sure.
Yeah.
So we would, yes, I mean, we've worked in places such as yours. We've been able to model things like that. My analysts would need to answer some of these more specific questions, but we've been able to get into the nitty-gritty. It sort of depends on how far you want to go down the rabbit hole. But we definitely can work with small municipalities and their budgets. The reason why county-wide, depending on the data, is important is because the models are not necessarily cheap to do, and if the model is something that would help multiple municipalities across a regional area or across different groups as business districts or real estate, whatever the conversation is, it's helpful to share costs and be able to get the bang for your buck out of working with us.
So, Henry, question on the data gathering. I think you answered some of it. So
Sure.
I would imagine much of the information that you need, certainly the, GIS, is, the public domain. Again, we're a small town, so it's sometimes difficult to get more detailed information on the revenue expense side, but, can you just describe that process a little bit? I mean, you mentioned interviewing kind of some of the key stakeholders, but how would you go about actually garnering that data?
Yeah, so we start with usually, and this is not true all the time, but usually property tax revenue data is publicly accessible. We also start with the municipality's budget. So we're looking at your revenue streams. We're getting your budget. I say county because sometimes usually those across the country, those revenue streams for property tax are collected at the county. So that's usually where the data comes from. So we pull what's accessible from your budget from publicly accessible areas, and then depending on how far we get, we usually have to have a relationship with the municipality that we're talking to in order to get a deeper level of data. And then that's usually working with our client, our stakeholder, to help us have those meetings, get those meetings, especially when we get into the cost of infrastructure, talking to those individual departments to figure out the deeper nitty-gritty pieces of rebuild cycle and maintenance costs and cost of materials, et cetera.
Mhm.
Did that answer your question?
Yep.
Great.
One other question. So, we don't have a Biltmore estate, but we
Sure.
do have some amount of acreage in something called the University of Massachusetts flagship campus.
Okay.
They don't pay taxes, right? So in Massachusetts, we have something called a pilot or a payment in lieu of program for some of those parcels that are government owned, if you will, and off of the tax rolls. In Hadley, we have a record number of acreage that's in protected farmland. In Massachusetts, it's called APR. So they have agricultural protection restrictions on that
Sure.
that prevent it from being developed down the road. So,
Sure.
That land is not going to generate the level of revenue that it would obviously if it were developable
Sure.
land. And we certainly have a fair amount of impervious surface because we have a couple of malls and lots of parking.
Yep.
So is that that's something that you'd be able to model out for us, in terms of, additional build out or whatever in the commercial district to say, okay, just like you were mentioning, if you built a Costco, or a Walmart, that's going to take away, if you will, from the revenue opportunity, but it may have a lower cost impact as well compared to pick something, mixed use development or whatever.
Sure. I just wanted to show, can you see my screen right now?
Mhm.
Great. So we did do the entire state of New Hampshire sometime in 2019. So there's a little bit older model. But we're going to go ahead and show. So the grayed areas are non-taxable land. We look at publicly owned land. We are not making the case in New Hampshire that you should develop this big swath of publicly owned land. There's usually what happens is we actually work with the Government Financial Officers Association, or GFOA, on a project called Putting Assets to Work. And we look inside cities, look inside counties, and look for the publicly owned land that could be really good for development and look at different ways they can use that. But this is that's where the gray comes out. So putting taxable exempt and non-exempt land on the model is definitely part of it.
Because the
In this
gray,
case,
I'm sorry, Henry, because the gray for the, that's all the White Mountains, right? So is that kind of like what we're speaking to not want to develop up here?
in this model, yes, that's what
Okay,
I'm looking
thank
at.
you.
But
Yeah.
then we're not
Sorry.
zoomed quite. No, that's okay. So are you seeing my screen change a little bit?
Yeah,
Now we're
thank
looking at
you.
Keene. So here is the total value of Keene, and then we once again have the publicly owned land within the town of Keene, and then here is their value per acre model. And then we also look in the model for basically low return on investment, low taxable value of land. We also look at where the buildings on the land are worth less than the land value. So we look for different places where we're not saying do all of these things, but we're trying to help cities and counties find places where they can take a look at different aspects of their land use and what is developable and what they could do there to generate more revenue. There was also I don't remember why, but there's something, Molly, in what you said that I want to show something in Springfield, Missouri, which is kind of a little funny. But Springfield, Missouri, we found out that they had, I'm going to play slideshow, share slideshow. Is it working? Okay. People can see stormwater. So they had a whole data layer and GIS layer for trees. This is also the impact of trees on the stormwater system for Springfield, Missouri. This is also their planimetric data. So this is all the land that they have. You mentioned pervious surfaces versus impervious surfaces. So that's where I'm getting to here. So here's all of the land that they have, 8.9 square miles of buildings, parking, roads, etc. And then here are the tree canopy on their model. But then here's all the pervious surfaces and here's all the impervious surfaces. And so the impervious surfaces, this is the scale for the whole model, 19.4 square miles of land. And that equals $14 billion of runoff annually, or gallons rather, but that will translate to dollars. So let's take a look at a tree. A tree is really two sponges on a stick. It's really rudimentary. I'm so sorry, trees. But their top layer, their canopy, is a water interception, and then their bottom roots are water absorption. So this intercepts 770 gallons of rainfall and absorbs 1,500 gallons of stormwater, which means that by 10,000 trees, this is how many gallons of stormwater these trees are intercepting. So this is going to reduce the stormwater system by 600,000 and 1.6 million. And then, but trees cost money. We were doing this return on investment analysis in Springfield. We're also looking at their costs. So here's the benefit of the tree versus the cost of the tree, and the net positive of $40 per tree times 10,000. So we started doing this analysis because we A, had the data, and B, we were looking at one of the city council members said he didn't like trees. So we're like, well, let's talk about trees. But we do this is kind of a silly example, but we do look at pervious surfaces versus impervious surfaces and look at the runoff data for how it affects your stormwater system.
Which I'm sorry, if someone else wanted to speak. So that was really amazing. But I'm sure that we have a very active conservation area, where people get concerned about plants, trees all over the farmland. possible unintended consequences with those impacts? So like how have you guys been able to collaborate or advocate for working with those experts previously?
So I have several potential projects in my whole CRM that are about protecting legacy farmland. Um, and I'm going to see if I can find my slides quickly. We did a project, we work with a group called 1,000 Friends of Florida pretty frequently. Um, and I'm wondering if I have the slide deck handy right here. But we did take a look. They had some land that was publicly owned land that was a state forest or a county forest. And I don't have my slide deck handy, but I will show you an image from that report, and I can send this over to you as well. Do, 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 do. Um,
I'm wearing off on you, Henry. This is what's happening.
so that is all right. I am going to share my screen here. No idea why. Okay, so can you
We're doing it.
see,
Yeah.
can we see this report? So this image, we were looking at, no, sorry, this is 32. So I'm on the wrong image, but I'll get to in a second. This is different return on investment comparison of 32 houses in Florida based on what their lot sizes are and the infrastructure to get there. So I'm on the wrong image, but this is one of the things we're doing with our 1,000 Friends of Florida report is what is going to be the highest return on investment based on how you're building in your city. But then scrolling down, here is the ones that we were also using the impact of trees. So there's 50 trees in this 40 acres. There's 44 acres with lots of trees. This is the amount of stormwater that's being captured within a neighborhood structure and obviously a naturally occurring structure. But then we took a look at, we were looking at the costs and benefits of land use choices. This is vacant land, technically. So do you want agricultural, conservation easement, or low density residential? And then we took a look at the value comparison of 3 scenarios in Nassau County, Florida. This is if you turn into agriculture. There is a cost to maintaining that, but that is generally net positive. And then just leaving it the heck alone is actually more net positive. And then turning it into single family lot, low density residential is way net negative. So this is one of the pieces that we did for that report and taking a look at Nassau County, Florida, and seeing different development styles for greenfield development and what could be and what couldn't be and what is maybe not as helpful. So we have several products in my hopper that haven't yet been funded, but there are places that are interested in protecting legacy farmland as well. So this is something in that analysis that I would hope to get there, maybe working with the county or the city in that area to look at the costs and revenues for different land uses and then show them greenfield development is probably not going to be the best plan. And usually when we do that public asset analysis or looking at the value, what non-taxable land is in the city or the county, there are plenty of places to develop that are more infill development or places that the building is worth less than the land it's on. So there's plenty of taxable revenues that can be pulled instead of doing greenfield development.
And Henry, who typically is your audience? Are you primarily working with a city planner or planning boards? It depends,
Sure. Sure. Generally, our target audience is a city or a county that's looking to be fiscally sustainable. We work a lot on comp plans. We work a lot as sole source contracts, like working with the city to just tell that story. Whoever our client is will find the story that they want to tell and find the story that we're noticing in the model and then weave that all together in our final deliverables. But at the end of the day, cities and counties are trying to figure out how to be fiscally sustainable. Most cities have a budget issue. Most towns have a budget issue. Most counties have a budget issue. So they're looking for ways to be fiscally sustainable, and our modeling helps them get there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And it sounds like your process is data driven, right? So if let's say somebody in Hadley said, okay, we want to hire you because we want to, we have an agenda and we want to prove that, I don't know, pick something.
Sure.
Yeah, Costco keeps coming up. We want to prove that Costco is going to be like the best thing for the town of Hadley. Can I assume that you're positioning yourself as being agnostic and purely data driven so that if in fact that's not the case, you will present information that may be contrary to that opinion?
Yeah, I mean, we're coming in, we're using the municipality's revenue and costs. So we're just looking at your data and we're just presenting in a different way that's not a annual comprehensive financial report. We're taking the ACFR and we're putting it into a visual storytelling slide deck with models and maps and graphs and etc. So a Costco could possibly be the best thing for a community. It also could not. We don't know. So we usually go in and see what the data tells us.
I have like one more thing. I'm
Sure.
sorry to, but while we have your time, thank you for
Sure.
sharing. So my lens tends to be public health and affordable housing. And you probably don't have this specific information, and you would have to go back to your specific team, but I'm really excited about the pro forma and the future assessments that could possibly be done with Hadley. And I immediately think about the opportunities with the Hampshire Mall and many other Anchorage that could be redeveloped. But has your company looked in terms of the secondary gains or other things that might be able to support our community learning more about this and leaning into this in terms of future development with like public health outcomes or other financial availability with like town budgets that with the loss revenue benefit. I'm saying it wrong, but I think everyone kind of gets what I'm saying in the room.
Sure.
Sorry, I'm a
there's
nurse. I don't do this stuff.
You're doing great. I think there's a couple of things in there that I hear. I'm working on getting a contract signed with a town in my county that wants to look at affordable housing, and we have a new program. I'm actually calling in from Minneapolis, Minnesota, so spoiler alert, I'm not actually in Asheville, but the company's based in Asheville. But the town of Brooklyn Park wants to do some analysis on some of their low value use land and some of their opportunities for building affordable housing. And there's a new affordable housing program in Minnesota. And the simple thing that we are probably going to show is that for every affordable housing development you do, you just do a market rate one, and you're going to be fine. We need to get into a little bit of data about how much property tax those affordable housing units are paying, whether it's LIHTC, whether it is public housing. Those are other questions that I have an affordable housing background that's trying to cram its way through the door. But the other piece about what you were saying about public health data, that's actually not something we have dug into yet, but we've been talking about it for like 2 years. We do projects where we look at we're like this close to starting a public health project. So as long as the data is there, as long as it's something that we can model and have access to, then we are happy to do that. I think there's lots of public health questions that can be answered with this kind of modeling.
Thank you so much for that answer. I really appreciate it.
Sure. Any other burning questions or etc.?
I think the only other one I have, Henry, is, if, there's a scope of work for an initial engagement, you guys price it out, you come in, you do the job, it's delivered and presented. I would imagine that there may be follow-up. I mean, so do you then perhaps come back in at whether it's an hourly rate or a smaller contract price, like 2 years down the road to say, okay, this zoning change or whatever, to provide an update, almost like we would on a master plan?
Yeah, I mean, yes, We phase our work. So if you were interested in doing, say, in the same year, different levels of the analysis, we'd be happy to do that in multiple phases. If you are looking for an update, we can potentially come in year after year and do an update. Usually our clients aren't doing that. We have products where we do every like 3 or 5 year update. And then there are places like we did a Minneapolis model for the Minneapolis 2040 plan, and then they're planning to do the Minneapolis 2050 plan. So I've already had a conversation where we will certainly be updating that model. So the answer is yes, we do that, and then it kind of depends on what problem you're trying to solve, I guess, from your standpoint, and then we're happy to work with you on that.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have any questions for Henry? Definitely something to think about.
Sounds very useful.
Great.
Okay. And I think Henry, our intent is again, as I had mentioned to you, this is a Housing and Economic Development Committee. Bill Dwyer happens to be a planning board member. I happen to be a select board member, but we're hoping to, because these meetings are recorded, get a broader audience for
Sure.
the presentation that you just did. So we'll be circulating it to the planning board and select board, probably the finance committee too, just so, we can have a meaningful in-house discussion on this.
Great. Well, I'm excited to know that you will not be editing out the 5 minutes I spent trying to figure out the Zoom share. So thank you so much.
No, yeah, and I think this would be really helpful because I know when I've been hearing about like what my understanding is, how do we support our town with having more sustainable future planning,
Mhm.
right, and growth. So like I'm excited to hear more about this.
Sure. Great. Well, I'll also follow up with Molly, some product sheets that you can pass around and some other materials, and we can go from there. So,
Fantastic.
great.
All right.
Well, thank you all for your time. Wishing you a lovely rest of your meeting and your evening.
Thank
You
you.
too, Henry.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Okay. So just getting into our regular agenda, just first order of business. I did circulate minutes this morning. I don't know if everybody had a chance to review them. If you had, I'd ask for a vote to approve them. If you need more time, that's fine as well.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion made by E, seconded by Bill. And Sean is eagerly awaiting the opportunity to say yes. So all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, all right, thank you. So our other guests this evening, we see Alex is on here. Alex is our Hadley media guy. Alex and I had a conversation about the project that Alex and other committee members are working on that has to do with a municipal light project. Do I have that right? MLP?
Yeah, so yeah, in order to have a fiber optic internet service here that's town ran, we'd have to have our own municipal light plant. I do have a brief slideshow if you'd entertain it.
Sure.
Okay, great.
Mhm.
All right.
I'm not going to say no to you, Alex.
I mean, you can. All right, can everyone see my screen and all the fun little animations going on?
There we go.
Awesome. All right. So briefly, I'm gonna talk about real quick, why should we have it? What are the benefits? What's the timeline, the cost? And talk about what we'll need down the line too. So a little bit of the background here. 2 years ago, around 2 years ago, around this time, we signed on a renewal license for Charter Spectrum to operate their cable channels here in town, which left some areas of town without internet or cable in town, such as your Honey Pot area, your Cemetery Road area, and I believe one home on Moody Bridge, along with other parcels in town. And we I started conversations with South Hadley to try to get some of that federal funding that would actually hook up to the to those areas of town. Unfortunately, we didn't have the time or resources, mainly resources, to really get that up and running because they do require a plan to do so. And from what I know, Verizon actually got the bid for Hadley to hook up the rest of town with their own internet. Um, I believe that's what I'm not sure if it's going to be going to fruition or not, what they're going to do. They're technically not required to go through the same renewal process or cable license process as a Spectrum or a Comcast would, because it's only for cable. It's literally a very, very old law that we're under for that. But anyways, um, so why have it? We provide access to high quality internet in areas that don't have it. We would give residents another choice other than Spectrum, where in our digital equity plan, cited a lack of competition in town. We'd be able to offer public transparency and accountability. Um, so the survey, when we did our survey for the plan, um, it found that residents were spending on average $102 per month on just internet alone. Um, and now it's just in 2024. I'm sure those prices went up since then. Um, where we be able to control our own pricing for our own internet. We'll get to that in a moment here. And then in 2023, the Fiber Broadband Association found that home values rose to 4.9% when there's a fiber hookup at a dwelling, which is beneficial for increased wealth, better resale, and then for homeowners, better borrowing power. You know, your home equity loans, refinancing, you name it. Um, and there are other municipalities that are doing this right now, and just our neighborhood. Shutesbury is doing it. And they get these prices different because they get to choose their own pricing, and that's what we be able to do as well. So Shrewsbury has their own, and they do phone internet. Same with Leverett, $79, 89, 40, for both. It's pretty reasonable. Benefits, obviously, new form of revenue for the town over time. This can be funded through a debt exclusion, and if we do it right, we won't have to touch the tax base at all. We have more local control, setting our own rates, having public hearings, better access for residents to access local government resources. And then the Center on Rural Innovation cites that there's 18% higher income growth for people who have reliable access to internet in their home. GDP grew to 44%, 213% business growth rate, and self-employment growth rate at 10% as well. So there are solid economic benefits to it. Not saying that Hadley can get those rates, but that's what the CRI saw. And we already have a partner. South Hadley Electric Light Department is servicing our municipal buildings currently through public safety. And my building is also one of the buildings that has it too. So we have a partner in this. We just be continuing the partnership and the relationship we have with South Hadley. And then for timeline next steps, this is a 5 and 7 year project. What we need to do is we need to establish a municipal light plant. This is required under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 164, Section 47C. It would require a town meeting vote and I believe a ballot vote. We need to get that clarified with legal, but I believe that's what we need to do for that because I keep hearing 2 votes. We would need to look into debt exclusion. Obviously find our funding sources. We would, and when we start this, when we have this municipal light plant board, we'll be able to somehow be able to help us out with making a plan of where and when. And create and then there's a suggestion with our digital equity plan to create a bylaw that require developers to install conduits for future use. So these conduits would actually be able to help with the hookup for fiber internet. So that was a very brief presentation here. So I'm open to any questions that the board the committee may have.
Anybody have any questions for Alex?
No,
Go ahead, Alex. Go ahead.
No, I'm just excited about the potential because I think it would bring so much value to organizations establishing here in terms of stability and being able to get data through, and then also like in terms of our local community. So thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you.
I'm just going to ask a probably a stupid question just because Tony's sitting here. I don't even know Tony. So what does UMass do? I mean, you've got your own little self-contained city there. Well, maybe not self-contained.
We're part of the college fiber optic network, and so that which I can pop in some information into the chat.
Mhm.
And so that has been long established through both conduit and, of course, up on utility poles as well. Let me just pop that in so people can see that.
And that was what UMass 5 colleges put in, years ago, right?
Yeah, it's the 5 college. It what goes back to 2007.
Mhm.
I know it's made a huge difference up in the hill towns like Ashfield and where my in-laws live and the Goshen area, just in terms of accessibility. It's been great. So I hope we can do this somehow.
Hey,
That's how
Alex,
yeah.
can I ask you a question? So the Digital Equity Steering Committee, is that no longer in effect?
It's still a committee. We just haven't had a meeting for a while.
Okay, because I know that you said that there was another committee created. And I was just wondering if any of the members from the Digital Steering Committee is part of that new committee.
We have Amy Fiden and myself.
That's
Okay.
Shardul as well, Alex.
Yes, we have Shardul. Yep. He's not on the digital equity, but we do have Shardul on our committee. He's our chair. And
Okay.
yeah.
Are you looking for new members or are you just okay with the 3 that you have?
We're good now. We have
Okay.
David Phil as a select board member also.
Okay.
But right at this moment, the next step is to get this municipal light plant board established.
Okay.
To get that
Just
going.
letting you know I'm available if you need me.
Yep.
Okay. And I know, this is starting to get more attention the further Alex and his colleagues move along. So I think, I'm aware of the fact that there's some other people in the community who are interested. And Alex, just so you know, I've been providing them with yours and Shardul's contact information if they want to talk any more about this.
Absolutely. Please send them my way.
Okay, perfect. All right, good stuff.
Great.
Thanks for joining us, Alex. Appreciate it.
Great. Thank you for having me. And my email's in the chat, so anyone please feel free to reach out with any questions, concerns about this project. And Molly, I believe I answered some of the questions from the previous select board meeting when we had this conversation. Do you think I?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
No,
Okay,
appreciate it.
good. That's really where I got all planned all this. So, yeah, great. So, thank you so much, everyone. Have a great rest of your meeting, and
Okay.
hope to talk soon.
All right, Alex, have a good
You
one.
too.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Okay, next on the agenda are normal two standing items. Bill, can you help us learn what may have been happening with the 40R Smart Growth Committee now that they've gotten going again?
They've gotten going again. There's some cash flow issues that it seem to be some budgeting discrepancies. No money's missing, but we don't seem to have as much money as we thought we had to finish the job.
Or
So,
PVPC, for Pioneer Valley Planning Commission?
right, PVPC applied for a grant on our behalf, and apparently we've been using that grant money up faster than anticipated as they've tried to do more meetings. As Mark Dunn said, we did want robust public participation, but there's a cost to that.
Mhm.
They have developed a sense of what they want to see in the way of potential 40R districts, one being the mall area and the other being the Railroad Street area.
Yeah, okay.
So we'll see. Creating a 40R district doesn't obligate us to do anything. It just
Mhm.
creates an opportunity for others to come in
Mhm.
and take advantage of special zoning.
Right.
So-
And they're subject to planning board approval and all of that anyway.
Yeah.
It's not.
So the current working goal is to have something for fall, October 26th, fall town meeting.
Mhm.
Although they apparently do not yet have a full text of a bylaw, and the draft bylaw has to be ratified by the executive office of something in livable communities before
Mhm.
it can go to town meeting. So this came up at our meeting on Tuesday, and I'm thinking, okay, now we're dealing with finishing up work on the town level, engaging the state, maybe over the summer, and aiming for a fall town meeting. So it's already tight, but we'll see how it goes. They're just going to keep on keeping on.
Okay. And then would you like to continue with the update on any planning board projects?
Oh, sure. We did approve the senior housing at Hadley Village Barn Shops. As a practical matter, just to give you a sense of lead time, this is a project that might see groundbreaking. First, there's some demolition that has to be done. Second, the groundbreaking might not happen until 2027, and occupancy maybe not until spring of 2028.
Mhm.
So, it will have at least 15% affordable units. And there is a potential for maybe negotiating some form of a contribution from, say, the Affordable Housing Trust Fund or the housing set aside from CPA. Maybe if we were able to buy, right now it's say 50 units. I might be off by a few one way or the other, which would 15%, I think would be 7 or 8 affordable. If we can get over 25% affordable, all 50 units will be countable on the inventory as affordable, even though only 25% actually need to be affordable to achieve that.
Wouldn't that be a gift for our community? You know what I mean? I know like it's been a challenge or from my interpretation with other developments and stuff, but if we can somehow increase the volume of our affordable housing, that would be really great if we have that opportunity. I know it's a lot of things that come together, but
Oh,
I
sure.
would love to see that.
There are a lot of moving pieces, and part of it
Yeah.
will come down to, what is that amount that would make it work for everyone? Uh, so, again, we're a couple of years away from having to answer that question or having to solve that problem.
That was going to be my question, Bill. When would the actual senior housing start to be built? I mean, I know we have a lot going on, as far as the Craig's door, but I'm wondering, since this project was approved, how long will it take for it to start?
They are estimating they're not planning construction before next year,
Okay,
and build out will probably take a year
okay,
or
so
part.
29
So we're looking at 2028, probably spring of 2028
to be completed or to start?
to be completed.
Exactly, yeah. I thought maybe 2029. Oh, that's not bad because time is flying.
Mhm.
Right.
Now, as far as having someone able to apply for the apartments, how is that going to be advertised?
I don't know. It will be dealt with in accordance with the regulations. We told them that our goal was to see that we had units eligible for listing on the inventory of affordable housing.
Right,
And how they get there, they're going to have to work out. There's a procedure.
right.
It will not be anything the planning board would be monitoring as long
Right.
as we achieve the objective of having them listed on the inventory.
Okay. Understood.
We do have we've had continuing expressions of interest with the proposal to put senior senior housing on well, first of all, the Village Barn Shops are going to be all on a rental model
Mhm.
and not on a condo model. There's a proposal to put I'm going to say again, I might be off, but I think it was like 15 units to the rear of Hadley Picture Framing, just adjacent to the senior center.
Mhm.
And we continue to have conversations with the landscape architecture firm that is working with the builder who is interested, but we haven't actually seen an application yet. And likewise on the senior housing at the intersection of Rocky Hill and North Maple, I believe that is still going through wetlands permitting, and we
Yeah.
have not seen anything filed on that.
Yeah, I didn't think that was going anywhere just yet.
And that developer has his hand in multiple other projects. He the same developer that is doing the apartment building at the intersection of University Drive and is that Amity Street?
Oh yeah, that's a big one that's going
Um,
up. Oh goodness.
where Rafters was.
Right.
So yeah, I'm not sure what that timeline is going to be. And I think that's how we did approve the Bank of America branch,
Mhm.
Thank you,
which
Bill, for that.
uh, it's like McDonald's and Burger King. They want when Chase goes in on one corner, Bank of America has to be on the other corner.
Can't have too many bank branches.
No.
Mhm. Anything else? Are there any topics anybody would like to see on a future agenda?
I don't have anything now, but if I think of something, I can email you, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, Tony, I think I skipped over the UMass update, probably because I knew that there was not an update. So we'll keep you as a recurring theme though. Okay. All right. Anybody else have anything for this evening? Otherwise, I'll take, just a reminder that the next meeting is going to be April 16th, would be the third Thursday in April. Okay. All right. Motion, anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I second. Oh,
No
We're
problem.
dueling it out, Crystal.
you can have it. You can have it.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Um,